Welcome to Preparing for the Unexpected. I'd like to welcome back to the show for this month's discussion, Regina Phelps. Regina, welcome back.
Alex, it's been so long.
1 month.
1 month. Yes, exactly. It's good to see you again, my friend.
Yeah, today I wanted to chat with you about what's going on in Mexico
Oh,
because the killing of the top cartel leader has
mhm,
a lot of other implications there right now.
mhm. It's actually fascinating. I've been listening to quite a few news broadcasts about that, doing quite a bit of reading, and it is a little unnerving. And of course, the first thing that caught my attention right away a few days ago when it happened was the fact that they had issued a shelter-in-place order for Americans specifically in Puerto Vallarta. And I thought, I didn't know about the actual leader being killed. So I was like, what the heck is that all about? And why are they just singling out Americans? But historically, we have been a good target. Americans have been a good target when there's been disturbances abroad. And it's not uncommon for them to issue a warning to be careful. I have never seen a warning to say, do not go anywhere. Quite
Yeah.
shocking.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
same thing happened with Canadians as well. It was stay
Oh,
where you
really?
are, don't go out anywhere, because at this time of year, it's winter up here, obviously, and in many places in the U.S. too. I don't want to
Yeah.
downplay some of the storms our friends down there have had, but
Hmm.
a lot of Canadians head down to Mexico, uh, uh, and Puerto Vallarta is one of those key destinations.
Absolutely.
And we've got people that are down there trying to get home. The airports were closed.
Hmm.
And it's what's going on there is having a bigger impact on travel now and tourism in general.
Hmm. Yeah, it's a little unnerving. And what I heard the several news broadcasts with Claudia Sheinbaum, the president of Mexico, who's doing a fabulous job, I have to say. And she was talking at length about what they're doing in order to ensure safety for people that are, for example, visitors. And then also, she was already looking forward to the World Cup because every reporter on this particular last time I heard her speak yesterday all wanted to talk about what were the precautions or the issues that they would be facing in the case of the World Cup and all of the people that are likely to be in Mexico to observe that. Have you been hearing about that in Canada?
Yes, actually, we've been hearing, well, to stay on the Mexican side for a moment,
Mhm.
Guadalajara is in the same state as
Yep.
Puerto
Yep.
Vallarta, where the world, maybe a couple, I don't know, but World Cup games will be played. So
Mhm.
asking questions about that security. People are asking that question up here now in Toronto. I don't know about Vancouver or Edmonton, but definitely in Toronto, where, hey, what if something happened here?
Mhm.
So people are really, I won't say finally taking things serious, but it's getting a much wider
Mhm.
group of eyes and ears listening and watching what's going on, to make sure that the people that come here are safe, the players are safe, the
Mhm.
residents are safe.
Mhm.
So it's really sparked awareness where people sometimes wouldn't have been thinking about this.
Right.
I'm just going to a game. But
Mhm.
now they're like, well, what kind of security is in place at these
Mhm.
games?
Mhm. Yeah, I think it will make people a lot more anxious, perhaps, but certainly more thoughtful when they attend the games, frankly, in any of the three countries, right? So Canada, the United States, and Mexico, because again, you never know really the power or the reach of some of these cartels and what they might do. What I understand is that it's very common um, that when a cartel leader has been killed, executed, whatever, that there's a lot of turf issues that emerge, and there's a lot of competition amongst the sub leaders, if you will, of the cartel, as everybody's jockeying for position, and perhaps they might actually end up breaking up into smaller subsections of a cartel. And so, what I heard from some of the reports I read from some of the intelligence groups in the United States is that this can go on not just for a few days, but it can go on for weeks. And that can take many different forms. So, certainly the World Cup would be a huge place to make a great statement of violence towards visitors. But also, from our perspective of what we do for a living, I think people need to also think about how that could be affecting manufacturing or shipping or movement of goods across borders. So whether it's coming from, into the United States, going to other countries, or going to Canada, for example, I think we might need to take a moment to explore our own supply chains about where we get our stuff. And increasingly, I think people are going to find that a lot of it comes from Mexico.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, like me, I read all the labels. I know just about where everything in my house comes from now.
Very good, very good. You're aware. You're an aware shopper.
Yeah. But the other thing too is the tourism side of things,
Mhm.
because sticking with Guadalajara and the World Cup, people may not travel there now.
Yes.
So because of the one assassinated cartel leader, now there's people that I'm not going there.
Mhm.
You know, like just like Canadians are not traveling to the US because
Exactly.
of the risk.
Hmm.
Now we're not going to Mexico either. Some
Hmm.
people may say we're not going there, and Americans may be the same thing as well. But
Hmm.
even people who live in Mexico may
Hmm.
say the same thing.
Hmm.
So there's could be a bigger impact on the World Cup itself now.
Hmm.
People not going there,
Hmm.
but as you used as an example, what a statement it would be for some of these cartel people who want to make a statement to try something at some of these
Hmm.
other venues. You
Hmm.
know, and Guadalajara is whatever, an hour, 2 hours away from Puerto Vallarta.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, it would be super easy to do that. And I think, to your point, I think everybody that follows the sport, the great sport of soccer, will be wondering and thinking about whether they would attend a game. I mean, just look at the huge drop in tourism worldwide to the United States since Trump has been in office. It's down about 40%. That's a 40%. And the impact financially in the United States has been huge.
Hmm.
So if you kind of think of that same, what that demonstrates to us is that when you look at the impacts of some act, how people are much more aware of that, and they're going to think much more seriously about whether they would go. Well, I heard Claudia Sheinbaum yesterday on a press conference, and a reporter was starting to ask her a question about the cup, and she cut them right off and said, "We are on this. We are going to be having security that you can't believe, blah, 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 blah." So she was already feeling the angst and the pressure already, even though the cup is months away, that people are already talking about it and fearful about it.
Yeah, and then I know a couple of people I mentioned before we started recording that I know work in the travel industry as travel agents,
Yep.
and they were both posting on Facebook like, "Oh, I'm so busy, have to reschedule."
Mm.
People who no longer want to go there.
Mhm.
Airlines are all of a sudden finding that flights are being canceled, or they're
Yep.
trying to juggle people around now because nobody wants to go there at the moment.
Mhm.
So it does really trickle on down to other things, and it comes down to that you a lot of times people think, oh, they got a cartel leader, great, wonderful, whatever your opinion may be,
Right,
and
right.
but that one act has a ripple effect into so many other things.
Mhm.
Airports, planes, travel industry, tourism, all those small mom and pop businesses that
Yep.
are impacted as well.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, and I think so the tourism piece is huge. The World Cup just makes it that much bigger, right? Because now I think people, especially if they're coming from outside either the United States or Mexico, are going to be saying to themselves, okay, like I don't want to go to the States for a lot of reasons, and I don't think I want to go to Mexico, because this could end up in being a long and protracted cases of periodic violence, and the Cup would be a great place, as we talked about already, to have some big demonstration about how important or big or whatever this new leader who takes over that cartel, whoever that will be,
Mhm.
is going to use that as really a statement. And then I think to really extend it, after you look at the impact to tourism and the cup, and will impact, basically all three countries too, because maybe people will decide, well, I don't want to go to the States and I don't want to go to Mexico, and maybe all the games in Canada are sold out, so I'm not going anywhere. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, I can see that. I can see that.
Yeah.
So then I think about that if I was a smart cartel leader or the new leader, whomever, I would really start thinking about ways that I could show how powerful I was by things like targeting imports that are coming into the United States in trucks, or maybe things that are actually going to Canada or other countries. Because there's a lot of manufacturing in Mexico. There's a lot of goods that are exchanged back and forth between the United States and Mexico. And I'm assuming that that's probably the same in Canada. And I think, if you think if you're trying to demonstrate how big or important or powerful you are as the new person in charge of this large, apparently very vicious cartel, that you would be very inclined to maybe make some statements, not just about the World Cup and travel. They're going to decimate a certain amount of tourism in Mexico straight away. But maybe they would do something else by targeting imports into the States or Canada or maybe some other country or maybe a ship or something like that. Because I think it's all about demonstrating power, authority. And so I would say that all of us in our business of resilience should be actually doing a serious look at their supply chain and
Yeah.
asking themselves, what do we get from Mexico? What do we import? And sometimes, I don't know, going back to some of the crises that have occurred over the last 10 years, like I remember when there was floods in Thailand, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, and there was a little tiny thing that was made in Thailand, but yet it was like a really important little tiny thing that actually ended up messing up car manufacturing in the United States because it was critical for some little piece of something.
I remember that. Yeah.
You remember that? I mean,
Yeah.
it seemed so silly at the time, but then it turned out to be a big deal. And so I really ask our colleagues that are listening that are in our business to really do a serious look at supply chain issues that could be coming from Mexico and anticipate, don't be flat-footed, right? Think about, well, what could happen if we couldn't get that little tiny thing or whatever it was?
Yeah.
And then ask yourself, is there some sort of workaround? So it's not just tourism, it's not just the cup, it's what we do for a living. And every time this happens, we should be asking those questions. And we should then proactively be reaching out to our executives teams saying, okay, this is the list of all the things we get from Mexico. Just as an FYI, we're monitoring this, blah, 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 because of this incident. So that then they're thinking like, wow, my resiliency person is really sharp. They are thinking ahead. They're providing value in the work that they do. That's what I want our folks to be doing.
Yeah. You could identify something that is only manufactured as an example in Puerto Vallarta, using the current situation as the example.
Mhm.
Now there's violence going on. It's broken our supply. We can't get that anymore. And they're
Right,
the only people who do it. So
right,
now what do we do?
right.
Can we
And,
get it
and
somewhere else? All that.
right, and then what do you do, right? But I think also the issue is it's not just Puerto Vallarta. I think the idea is that if there's supply chain, any supply chain that's coming from Mexico could be targeted. And
Yeah.
so that's what they should be thinking about broadly.
Yeah.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
important.
On that note, we've come to the end of the segment.
That was fast.
It was. Well, talking with you always just goes by wonderfully. So,
So quickly, doesn't it? That's
yeah. Well, we will be back because we have something else we're going to touch on too.
right. We'll leave them in suspense.
Exactly.